Hey everybody, I'm Dave. This is my son Eric. Welcome to Bush Troopers, bushtroopers.com. Okay, what we're going to do today is, you'll see that I have this poncho coat. And Eric and I have come on out here to the training area for School in the Woods, schoolinthewoods.ca. They've allowed us to use their little area here to basically set up. I made this coat when I was on the bushcraft course last week, and I'm basically going to show you guys how to make it. It wasn't part of the course, I just decided to try it out. So I'm going to make one for Eric. You like it?
Mm-hmm. And he made a shelter.
And I made a shelter, made a bunch of stuff. So what we're going to do first is we're going to get lunch ready, because we just got here, got the fire going. We're going to get a little bit of lunch going, and we're going to start up. Oh.
What? Gotta go poo?
No.
Make a toilet out of wood, out of a tree and rocks. They go hold fast.
I don't want to put this too high.
It's too high.
Hey everybody, okay, this is the poncho slash coat, the Poat. Ta-da! Basically what it is, it's a little pullover that I've created. I saw part of it online. I think Dave Canterbury made one, and then some other guy, and then I thought, I'm going to try this. So I started messing around. But what I've done is you just take a blanket, you fold it over, you cut out the squares for the arms, you stitch up the sides, stitch out the sleeves, cut a little part for your neck and your head. Now, what I've done is I've only stitched up basically to my waist to leave it wide open. It's longer in the back than it is in the front. The reason I like it wide open is so you can crouch down and it still lays pretty much flat, so if you're working with a fire. I've already used it towards a fire, and it doesn't catch an ember, so that's great. It's all wool. It's a 100% wool blanket. 65% new wool and 35% reconditioned wool. So it's still 100% wool, it's just not all brand new wool. Anyway, it's army blanket, as you can see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make one for Eric, which we talked about. Some of the other little things that I've done though, when I actually created this thing, I decided I want to kind of make it as rustic as I could possibly throw it together. So what I've done was, I took my little bag here of toys and bits. The string that I used to sew it together is not paracord. It's like paracord. It's, I'll just show you here because I got a little piece of it. It's like paracord. I'm zooming in here. Right, but it's actually quite thin. But it works really, really well. It does have a strand inside, not many strands, but it has a strand. I think it has two actually, but it's very strong stuff. But you can use it in a pinch. You can basically unravel the coat, and you've got a lot of string to tie things off with. I have these long pieces sitting here. I will cut them off. They're not here permanently. For a decorative feature, I actually sewed the seam inside the coat. But what I'm going to do here is I realized that it actually made kind of a nice pattern, if you can see that. So what I did was I decided to leave the pattern on the outside from the armpit down. For Eric's coat, I'm going to make the whole thing where you can see the whole seam all the way through and down, just because I think it just looks a little better. So what I did to start this particular project, when I laid the blanket down, folded it over, I laid on it, and I'll show you all this with Eric, and spread my arms out. Now this is the actual width of the blanket, so I got lucky. So it's kind of a one size fits most. For Eric, I'm going to have to actually cut it down even further. But to get started, I wanted to, I didn't want to use the standard, you know, just grab a needle. So what I did was I actually carved a needle out of wood. So I don't think I'm going to carve one today, but I'm just going to show you what I did here. I carved it out of wood, and I etched the hole that was big enough to actually fit the string. So the string here, right, actually fit through the hole, like so. And then it's got quite a tip on it, which I can keep sharpening. It's wide, so it actually separates the material. When you push it in, I kind of roll it back and forth, then I pull on it and keep rolling, and it pops through. That makes it a little bit easier. Now I sewed the whole coat up with this one needle, and I'm actually going to work on Eric's with the same needle. What I did was I just carved it. I think I used cherry wood, and it was just a regular piece of wood, and I just started shaving it down. I originally put a hole in it first and then shaved around the hole, but I found that broke. So it didn't work well for me. So what I did was I cut it off here, and then I just, after I had it in position, I then dug the hole out with an awl off my Swiss Army knife. So that gave me the point. Then I took this, and somebody gave me a suggestion because I was on the bushcraft course, and somebody said that I should heat it up. And so I put it by the fire on a rock, and it heated up. What it did was it closed all the pores to the wood, made it actually a lot stronger. So I thought that was pretty cool. So a good idea, and I went with it. To cut the thing, I like to keep it as traditional as I possibly could. It's not really a traditional coat, right? It's a poncho and a blanket. But what I did was for the sides, I just used my knife. I cut it up. I just used a piece of charcoal out of the fire and I draw the lines. So I'll do the same thing with Eric, and again, we'll show you because I'm going to lay him down and we'll get all this sorted out. Okay guys, so what you want to do is I got this blanket here, another wool blanket, and take it now. Obviously, for me, it's perfect size. As you can see, it's wide, but for Eric, spread your arms out. It's gonna be a little too big for him. Now I'm gonna make this a bit bigger for Eric anyway, so he'll grow into it as time goes on. However, we're gonna measure it out. So I'm gonna show you how to basically do this whole thing. Now I'm just wondering, come here bud. Well, this isn't gonna work.
I'm size 5. I mean 8.
Hold your arms right out straight. And throw this over your head.
Hey, I was a green ghost.
You know what? I can actually do it this way, but it'll be just enough for you. So that won't be big enough. So I could actually cut this down the side where I made the seam. It'll fit perfectly for Eric. However, because I want him to grow into it, I am going to cut it the long way and have it a little bit big on him so we can roll up the sleeves and he'll have that opportunity. Lay it down, right down on the ground. Spread it out. All right, so what I'm going to do is I want to line it up so it's relatively even. And I'm going to give it a few inches more on one side than the other, as I said. So that'll be the back. Try and spread out the wrinkles. This is not an exact science, guys, so don't beat yourselves up trying to say, oh my God, I didn't measure this absolutely perfect. Mine's not measured perfect at all. When you fold in the edges and you start to sew, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's relatively close. I'm not selling these on the open market. If people are going to be that picky, make your own. Put your shoulders so they're right there on the edge. Up a little more. Okay, perfect, good. Make the edge of the blanket at his fingertips. So lay your hands flat, so there, and then move over that way. Yep. Yeah. Okay. So you measure it off so that his fingertips are the edge of the blanket. So you see on this side, I'm going to be cutting off a little bit more. And on the bottom, this thing will go almost to his feet, which is perfect.
Really perfect.
Bring the camera over in a second and show you the line once I draw the whole thing out on him. I'm just trying to find a tougher piece of charcoal. That one looks a little better. Now some charcoal crumbles, but that's okay. Right? You don't mind the crumbly bits. Normally I just go from edge to edge, but for a kid's coat here, you want a little more. You can use a piece of paracord to make your measurements right. That's what I did when I was by myself. Right? However, when you got somebody here with you, they can pretty much eyeball it for you. But I used paracord because I was on my own. And what I might do is actually, I drew one line down here, but I'm going to give it a couple more inches on each side just to widen it out a bit. And you'll see that in a second. All right, so what you can do here, or what you see here, is there's two lines. I'm going with that line. That's the first one I did, but I want to give a little bit more room. Now it goes across, and you can see a faint line right up here that I use with the charcoal. But it's at his fingertip length, as well as over here. There's a double line. Again, I'm going with the outer line, and then it goes straight across to the edge of the blanket. And you see how there's a lot here? That'll give him really wide sleeves. I may actually shrink that up a bit. I think I will. I'm going to cut a couple inches off that, even though when you fold it up, you lose 2 inches off the sleeve itself anyway. One other thing I failed to mention, you can do it with paracord as well when you find the upper edge. However, I don't need to. Look straight. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a couple lines on each side of his head so I know how far to make it. And again, I'll cut it in a little bit just for the neckline, but I'll show you that as we go. Okay, so what you do here is, you see where I've got the line down here. Once I cut it here, what I'll be doing is folding it in half, and that'll give me the center of his neckline, where I'll cut it down for the chest area. So just take my knife, again, try to keep things real simple. It's a very sharp knife, so be careful when you do this on your own. Again, you could use scissors. I'm way out here and I don't have any scissors, so we're not using scissors. But what we are using is a knife. Okay, Eric, come on over here, bud. Hold that real tight. Now be careful, I'm bringing the knife up here, okay? So don't move yourself, all right?
Don't move a muscle.
Don't move a muscle, okay? Now I'm going to hold his hands, keep his hands away, all right? Bring the knife up slowly, and I just cut it down. Now I'm bringing the knife towards me, not towards him, obviously, because that is not very safe. Now it's a little bit ratty, but that's all right because I'll fold it over and sew it in. Okay, so what I'm going to do is start to cut it here. Now you notice I'm now cutting away from myself, which is much safer. And I have a really good control of the knife anyway, because it's a very sharp knife. And I'm not going fast, and it's not really hard material to cut through. Yeah. No, that's it. So, there you go. That's your first piece right there. Now this piece here, just shake off the dirt. We'll use that later for something else, possibly. All right, now, again, don't move. Let me get in here. Pull them apart, please. Really tight. That's it. Keep it very tight. Keep pulling apart. Attaboy. Keep going. Pull apart. Yeah, you're doing good. That's what I like to see. Okay, and right there. Perfect. So what you want to do is you line up your two sides, right? Your front sleeves, and you go right to your back here. Now, I just take the edge of the knife. Watch yourself. Come around here. Thank you. Just take the edge of the knife, poke a little tiny hole in it. Right? You can hear it just going through. That's it. Now I know that spot is my center point. And that center point, and I'm glad I did that, because my center point, not so center, from where I drew my two lines. So that's good. So again, I'm going to cut slightly towards me, and then
watch out, Father, you don't want to drop the knife, so I'm just going to get out of the way.
Yeah, good idea. Alright, so I cut it down a bit, and then I'll just go the width of my finger one way, or half the width of the blade, probably even better. One like that, and then like that, and a little bit more, just because Eric's probably got a big head. And I'm going to go down the front a little bit. Now, if you're going to mess up and you're going to cut this hole too big, you'd rather cut a bit longer neck than the sides, because what will happen is the sides will drop off the shoulders. I had to re-sew mine, and it's a bit of a pain.